welcome along. It's United Kingdom Talk.
From the Mirrorball studio in Royal Berkshire, this is Chris Reardon.
First of all today, I have to tell you, I'm afraid we haven't been able to move to the new camera yet. Absolutely not. No, we are still on this, which is quite good. I know. You think it's good anyway, don't you? I know. But I was hoping to move to my old video. I say old video camera. It's not that old. Look. Where is it? Here, dear. Oh, let me get it over here. Now, this is... I've got this video camera. I've had it for years and years. There it is. Years and years. A Sony video camera. All right. Now, I'm hoping at some point to be able to use this... Oh, look for a little hole. Now, I'm looking at you, looking at me, looking at you, looking at me. There we are. It's about 8 years old, as I say. But I do feel we can improve the picture quality with this. Hang on, it won't go back on now. There we are. I've got it on a tripod. Oh, yes. All very professional on a tripod. Look at this. Yes. Now, I've had these things for quite some years. And I was hoping to be able to use them to do the video side of the show. Now, last week, you remember I said I had a new video card. And, Joy had a little go at me last week. Yes, Joy in Acton. Because she says, when I'm talking about technical issues, I lose her. Now, I must apologise, Joy. I'm not quite sure what you mean by lose you. Is it the same sort of thing as, like, losing a child in a shopping centre? I mean, to be quite honest, my mum and dad, I think they wanted to lose me a couple of times in a shopping centre. I'd be just like browsing. I remember being very young. I'd be browsing, by the sweet counter in Woolworths or something like that. And I'd notice my mum and dad kind of look over their shoulder and quickly walk off. But I always spotted them before they went. I'm sure they tried to leave me in Woolworths because apparently that's where I came from. Oh, yes. Mum and Dad distinctly told me that I came from Woolworths. Well, probably on the top shelf, I would have thought, amongst all the dodgy magazines and that sort of thing. No, now, back to this little camera story. The card... Do you remember I said I'd bought a new video card for the computer? Now, Joy, pay attention to it. Now, the video card in the computer is necessary. It's like a little bit of electronics, okay? It's a little bit of electronics that the camera plugs into so that I can use it, all right? That's how I'm going to explain it. Just had a little sniff there. Didn't hear that, did you? Eh? Oh, it's happening again. The chest is playing up again. And the nose. It's every day now, isn't it? Every day. Anyway, so this card that I plugged into the computer, it worked, okay? It worked, but the sound was out of synchronisation. So kind of, I would move my mouth and then... you'd see the mouth move and the sound would follow a second later. So we didn't do too well with that. And I rang up the technical helpline and they told me it was because I was using a separate video and a separate sound card and I needed one to do both. Then they kind of talk to each other. So that's been sent back and I'm waiting for another one to arrive, all right? So apologies for that. We're still on the little webcam. It's not too bad. Actually, it looks to me like it's playing up a bit today. Does it to you? Do I keep stopping? I don't know. I mean, this is mainly a radio programme, as you know. The video side of it is just a little bonus. Or perhaps not, as the case may be. I mean, you may probably prefer, I wonder sometimes, to hear and not to see, like I should have been. If I was seen and not, or perhaps I should be seen and not heard. If that had happened, maybe Mum and Dad wouldn't have tried to leave me at Woolworths all those years ago. It's all very sad, isn't it? It's all very sad. So that's why we're still on this camera. So I'll let you know how that goes. What else today? I've had a bit of a problem with the asthma as well this week. I mean, the lungs are failing, aren't they? It's all over for the lungs. I have already put an order in. You see, the trouble is you wait for replacement organs, don't you? I mean, when you're ill, you then join the list for replacement organs. And the trouble is, of course, and I don't make light of this, trouble is sometimes people run out of time. So I have the answer to this. I have already registered with hospitals and medical authorities all over the world with a list of organs that I need. So I'm already on these lists, okay? So maybe, I'm kind of hoping that in years to come, should I need an item, perhaps another ear or another finger, something like that, should I need an item, hopefully, by going on the... I mean, it's got to be a bit like a council housing list, isn't it? It must be. Surely, the longer you are on the list, the higher you move up. You move up all the time. So I worked out in my mind that by joining these lists for organs, you should eventually, start going up the list as people at the top get their bits and pieces, or, you know what I mean, okay? We don't want to go into that. Surely people, as they move up the list, I will move up the list as well. So by the time I get to the top, if I need something, I'll then be able to say, "Oh, hello. I need a new whatever. I need a new. I don't know. What can we have? I'll need a new kidney." And I say, "Just a moment, please, sir." And they get their book out. "Oh, is it Mr. Reardon?" "Yes." "Oh, well, you're at the top of the list. You can have one straight away. You see, that's the idea." Now, it's simple. I don't know what it's like wherever you are, if you're not in the UK. But here we have council housing. If you want a council house, you have to gain so many points. For example, if you are a one-parent family, a mother with a child, that gives you so many points, which would make you more likely to get a council property than me, who is a male on his own. Well, I say that. I mean, I wish I hadn't have said that. I hope the cats didn't hear that. They get ever so upset if I don't mention them now and again. Oh, yes, yeah. Because I'm a man with just 2 cats. If I'm just a man with just 2 cats, the lady with the baby would have more points than me, so she would automatically be higher up the list. But one of the other things about this list is the longer you are on it, the higher you get up. If you're on it for years and years, gradually you move up this list. My friend Jason was waiting for a council place in Brighton. Now, I think it was about 15 years he waited. 15 years. 15 years he waited for a council place. Unbelievable, isn't it? And that's how it works. The longer you're on it, the higher you move up. Now, I am assuming, possibly, the same could be said for organ replacement. So, by joining these lists now, will I not slowly move up the list? And then if God help us, I should need something, then I'll already be at the top of the list. The only thing that's bothering me about that idea, which I didn't think of before I spoke to you about this, the only thing that's bothering me is, what if I get to the top of the list and I don't need anything? Then what happens? Do they force you to have something? I mean, could someone come round, or you get a phone call and said, "Well, Mr. Reardon, you've joined our list for a new kidney, and now you're saying that you don't want one. I'm sorry, you're going to have to come in and have one." And then what would happen? Would you end up then having 3 kidneys? Or would they take one of your perfectly good operating kidneys out and replace it with something of less functionality? I mean, it's a liberty, dear. That's what it is. So just an idea. Maybe you want to think about joining an organ. We could start our own organ list, couldn't we, really? Eh? Maybe someone would do that on the forums or something. Oh, by the way, I noticed I had a little look on the forums the other day. They've gone all a bit quiet, haven't they? Are you not talking to each other anymore? What's going on there? Now the forums, maybe has it run its course? Do we need to close the forums or should we keep them open? Now, if you want to join the forums, you can do so. The idea of those is that our regular people and friends and loyal listeners can talk to each other on there without me sticking my big nose in, and it is a big nose. It is a very big nose. You can find those forums at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk and just follow the link on any of the more recent shows, all right? Once again, unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk, and also there you can find links to all the other past shows, okay? unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, I was just talking about my did I mention about me asthma stuff yet? Oh yes, I had a bit of a problem with the asthma this week. Don't know why. It is set off by the cats, and I've got a feeling it's due to the fact that one of my cats, Katie, as I've mentioned a couple of times, has now learnt how to open the kitchen door and she can get into the house. Now, the other day she did wake me up. Oh, she was funny. She is funny. I was laying in bed because I usually have a couple of hours sleep in the afternoon, and I suddenly felt this thud on the bed around about 7 o'clock at night it was. And she jumped up on top of me and started walking up and down, purring and making noises, obviously trying to wake me up. And I have a feeling it's she's been getting into the house, which has set it off again. Anyway, I've got one of those asthma things. I don't know where it is now. I haven't got it with me in here. Look, one of those things. Let me go and get it. Stay there. 1 minute. You'll be able to hear this. 1 minute. That's it. Got it here. Got one of these blue acid. Oh, hang on, let me get on my pillow. All right. I have to. I don't think you realise. You see, the thing is, I'm not a very tall person. I think I'm about 5'7", and I sit on a pillow here. Because I'm not tall enough at the desk. I'm a little person. I've got my asthma thing here. There it is. See? And you put that in your mouth and you breathe in and you give it a little puff like that. That's one wasted. Anyway, so last week I'm feeling a bit. I usually wake up like that. So I grabbed my thing and I had some, and I thought this isn't working very well today. And for 2 days, I kept having what I thought was more and more of this asthma stuff. Every couple of hours. I'm sure this is not working. And eventually, after 2 days, I worked out that it was actually empty. Because I keep one in the house and one in the car as well. The reason I've got two is if I lose one. I don't think I ever have lost one, but just in case. It's also quite handy to have one in the car and one in the house as well. And after 2 days, you see, when I was in the house, what I was putting it down to was the fact that I was in the house. Okay? So when I was in the house with the one I was using in the house, I kept going, psst, and nothing. And, well, you think there's something coming out. But clearly it wasn't, because I wasn't getting any better. But when I went in the car and had a puff, within a few seconds, the tightness goes away. I think that's the worst thing, isn't it? The tightness on the chest. It's horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. So it took me 2 days to work out that this thing was empty. And all it was going, psst, all that was coming out was air, compressed air or whatever they put in there. Has anyone else done anything stupid like that? I'm not usually that stupid, so I went down the doctor's this week on, I think it was Monday, to put in a repeat prescription. And usually they're all very nice in the doctors. Oh, I noticed in the doctors, I don't know why they've had it done, but where the desk is, they've now got glass going right up to the ceiling. So I don't know what's happened there. I can't think. It's got to be to cut back on the germs, because it won't stop anyone like getting in or anything like that. Because just a little bit further, there's like one of those flaps that what was that? Just dropped something there. One of those flaps where you lift the desk and then you walk through. Well, that was up. So I said to the guy, I said, what's all this for? I said, you've been having a bit of trouble here, because that's the sort of thing you find in banks and post offices. And post offices, building societies, that sort of thing, isn't it? And I can't remember what she said now. Oh, that was it. It's supposed to cut down on the noise. And I'm thinking, what noise do they have in here? You know, it's always so quiet in a doctor's surgery. Apart from the fact, you know, you've got these kids running around, children running around in a doctor's surgery. Why is it, I don't know what it is where your doctors are, why is it that these parents just let their children run amok in a doctor's surgery? When I was a child, and on the case, I love to go to the doctors. We had, that was in Roehampton. Dr. Huff was his name, Dr. Huff. And we used to go to Dr. Huff, and I'd like to go at least 2 or 3 times a year, you know, with the slightest thing, cold or anything like that, because of course that meant a day off school. Oh, I loved days off school, because what would happen, we'd get up for school as usual. I don't know what time, probably about 7:45 in the morning or something like that. Oh, Mum, I'm not feeling well. Okay, she said, and she would take me down the doctor's. So we'd get there usually quite early. Now, I have to say, it's very different now visiting the doctors, certainly here. There were no appointments. You just turned up at 8 o'clock in the morning or 8:30. And I always remember, this would have been back in the early 70s, always remember going to the doctors around about 8:30, and you could sit in that waiting room for hours. I mean, you really could. You'd get there at 8:30 and maybe not see the doctor till 11:30. You'd be sitting in this waiting room for like 3 hours. Oh, it was awful. It was always busy and packed. Did they have smoking in there? I'm not sure now. Did you used to be able to smoke in there? I have a feeling you did. You know, this is, as I say, this is in the 70s. And there were no appointments or anything like that. You just turned up at 8:30 in the morning. Awful. Oh, it was dreadful. And then, you know, you'd wonder what all these other people were doing. I mean, you must have picked up more in the doctor's surgery then than what you went in the first place. I mean, they all go on about this MRSA now and all that business. What about the colds and the flu that we suffered from all those other people sitting in the blooming doctor's surgery, dear? It's a liberty, that's what it is. And it wasn't the most comfortable of places. And it was packed. Do you know, I've got that image in my mind now. It was an old converted house. It was on, what was the name of the road? Bessborough Road in London, in Roehampton. Bessborough Road, that was it. It's not there anymore. It's got converted into, I think they knocked it down and built some flats. But it was this old house, and the paint was peeling off the wall. And, you know the magazines, they were always about 2 or 3 years old. All the magazines that were sitting there waiting to be read. And, well, I mean, yeah, you'd sit in there for 3 hours. It's not like that at all now. Certainly not in the one I go into Bracknell. It's an appointment system. Usually, if you have, I mean, you're usually seen within, I would say, within 15 minutes of your appointment. They're very, very good. And it's the same, actually, in the dentist. Now, the dentist I go to visit, he runs a very, very strict appointment system in there. 12:30 to him, and I'm in entire agreement with this, 12:30 to him means 12:30. And I've seen people come late, say 12:40 for a 12:30 appointment. He'll take them up there, but he will finish them off. Okay, if he finds he doesn't have time, he will say, well, you have to come back now, so that the 1 o'clock appointment can go in at 1. He's really good like that, and I appreciate that. There's nothing worse, is there, than sitting in a waiting room in a doctor's surgery or a dentist for hours on end. So the appointment system, and even in the doctors, the appointment system is very good, but although it's fairly strict, if you ring up in the morning, and I've had this on one occasion. Now, you see, the point is, the patient too has to be a bit honest here. So when you ring up, when they say, we've got no appointments for today, are you okay to come tomorrow? You've got to work out in your mind, are you actually okay to wait another day? Usually, let's be honest, the answer is yes. But there was only one occasion that I had to go down to the doctor, and that's when I was having my burst appendix. I mean, the pain was unbelievable. This would be the same year Diana died. What was that, 1997, is it? 96, 97, one of those 2 years. And I remember ringing up and they said, we haven't got no appointments left this morning. Could you come this afternoon? I said, I think I really, really need to come now. The pain is killing me here. Okay, come straight down now. And that's the end of it. So they're very good like that. But the whole appointment thing is much better. Anyway, so I put in my repeat prescription for the asthma thing on the Monday. For some reason, it wasn't ready on the Tuesday. And I went and I said, oh, can you come back tomorrow? Have you got enough medicine? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I'll be okay. I've got a little bit left in the car, sort of thing. So I went back on the Wednesday. It still wasn't ready. She said, I don't know why it's not been done. She said, when did you last have your asthma checkup? Because you're supposed to go every year. And they give you this thing to blow into. And it kind of moves along. I'm not quite sure what it's called. You blow in this thing, and it moves along, and that tells them somehow how good your lungs are, or how bad they are, or anything like that. I said, well, it was less than a year ago. She said, oh, I'll print it off now. She said, can you come back in 10 minutes and I'll do it for you? Okay. No, that was it. The doctor wasn't there, so she said, well, the doctor starts again at 2:00 because this was a Wednesday afternoon, and I said, okay, he needs to sign the prescription. So I says, okay then. So I came back. I thought, well, I'll go back to the post office, go back to the doctor later. So I left there and I thought, well, I'll just go down the shops because I thought it was about 5 to 2 in the afternoon. But actually it wasn't, because I got into the Martins, which is a newsagent, just down the road where I live. And I thought I'll do a little bit of... I'll go in the post office there and get a few bits and pieces, some stamps and things, which I needed to do anyway. And then I'll go back to the doctor's. So I went in the in Martin's, which is the newsagent, and the post office is at the back. It really is. And the staff in the post office... Well, there's one lady there. I don't know what her name is. She was always quite nice. And even the bloke there is a bald man. Probably about the same age as me, to be honest. But he's a miserable bloke. Oh, God. And I try so hard. Hello, mate, how are you? All right. Oh, what? It's so miserable. He really is. Miserable. And I'm thinking, for God's sake, smile. And what was it? I had that was it. I was sending back the video card for the that I bought the wrong video card. That was it. I had to post that registered or special delivery. I can't remember what it was. That was about £4.50. It's funny actually when you send big parcels like that through the post. I've always found it doesn't matter which post person you go to, whether it's that one or the main one in town. But you say, how much is that? Oh, I'm afraid it's going to be £4.50. They always kind of apologise for the price of the item. I personally think £4.50 to send something halfway across the country or wherever it is the next day, I think that's really good value for money. Am I the only one in thinking that? I mean, I also think, to send a letter... what's that, about 40 pence? 40 pence to take this piece of paper and post it anywhere in the country. I think that's fantastic. And I can't understand these people. Every time the first class stamp goes up a penny or two, and they start moaning again. Well, don't send so many letters then, as simple as that. The problem, of course, occurs at Christmas time, doesn't it? When people seem to be bound to send hundreds and hundreds of Christmas cards all over the place. What a blooming waste of money. Now, I don't mean that in a nasty way, and I always bring this subject up at Christmas time on my church shows. I can't believe I've been doing this nearly 3 years now. October 2005 I started doing this. Yeah, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? Absolutely unbelievable. But, yeah, at Christmas time, all this sending of... Mum used to do it. She would start writing her Christmas cards in September, and she'd be so worried that she was going to miss anyone out. My answer to that is, don't bother. Don't bother. Okay, if a Christmas card arrives here from someone, I appreciate it. I do. You think, oh, it's nice to send a Christmas card like that. But it's maybe to close family and close friends. Maybe. But even like when it's from close friends, you quickly look at the card. Oh, that's from Mary. Oh, thanks very much. You put it on the shelf, and that's it, forgotten about. Is it really worth it for those 2 seconds of opening the card? Oh, it's from Mary. And it's forgotten about. Straight away it's forgotten about. And 2 weeks later, hopefully, if you're like me, you collect them all up and they go in the waste recycling thing. Don't you think, just for a moment, that's a little bit of a waste of money? Now, I won't say Christmas cards are expensive. Not on their own. I don't think... Not, if you buy the boxes of like 50 cards for £1 or $2, something like that, I mean, then they are very good value for money. But by the time you've posted them all, this is costing a small fortune, isn't it? And I honestly don't think you should bother. I really don't. Anyway, so we're getting off the subject now, aren't we? I don't mean to do that. And now of course we've got Easter cards as well, haven't we? Have you noticed those? Now, I'm very grateful that I received one from my Auntie Brenda and Uncle Malcolm. Auntie Brenda is my mum's sister. Now, if you're new to the show, you won't know. I lost my mum in 2000, and I do keep in touch with my Auntie Brenda at least, I would say, at least once every 2 weeks, probably once every week. I have a little chat on the phone, and my Uncle Malcolm, that's her husband. My Auntie Brenda, she's, we were talking about organs and things like that. She hasn't had a very good time the last couple of years. She had breast cancer once, which she was treated for once, and that all sorted itself out. And she also, I think it was last year or the year before, she had a cancer on one of her kidneys, and she had that was removed, but that all seems all right now as well. Now, I did mention organ cancers and things like that, so cancer on the kidney and that sort of thing, and I wanted to ask my auntie, but I don't feel I can ask her, and I just wondered, anyone else, do you know for anyone, or maybe someone close, that has had some sort of organ removed for whatever reason? Now, again, I'm not making light of this, but if you have like a kidney or a lung or something like that removed, does it feel different inside? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you feel empty? And what do they do with that gap? Because people who have, say, a lung removed, that's a fairly big gap there, isn't it? So what do they do with that? Is it filled with something? Anyone know the answer to that? I'd be fascinated to know that. Use the email address, please. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right? chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Yes, so I got this Easter card, which was very nice, a little card like that, only one. But I did notice around Easter, of course, a couple of weeks ago now, that shops are now, I think, trying to hijack Easter as they did Christmas. Now, make no bones about these two events. Okay? I can't stand all these people that you mustn't call it Christmas because it will offend people. Christmas was celebrated and is celebrated because we believe, or a lot of people believe, it was the birth of Christ. Christ Mass. That was Christmas. Easter, similarly, is a Christian thing, right? Is a Christian celebration of the rising from Jesus from the cross. That's the truth. So I just wonder how long it will be before these stupid councils, not just here in the UK, but in other parts of the world, decide that it must no longer be called Easter, but another celebration, so that we don't offend anyone else. And I wonder how long it will be before we get that one. Because you know that'll be coming as well. And once again, I shall tell anyone that tells me that you mustn't call it Easter. I shall tell them to stick it, because that's what it is. All right. If you don't want to celebrate it, fine, don't celebrate it. No one's offended by it. Once again, it's the politically correct people who think that people are affected, or not affected, are offended. But that's it. So Easter is Easter. But now I noticed some of the shops are trying to hijack Easter. I've got an advert in front of me. Buy your Easter gifts from, I think it was Argos, possibly Argos. This is Argos. Just a minute now. No, that's not right, because that is not an Easter advert. It's just telling them it's a sale. So it might not have been Argos, but it was certainly one of the shops. Let me just put that bit of paper over there. It was certainly one of the shops who were advertising, buy your Easter gifts here. So they're trying to hijack that one as well now, aren't they? Like they did with Christmas. And we mustn't fall into it. And Easter cards, you don't need to send them. Happy Easter. What's that? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. In my personal opinion, is with Easter, certainly with Easter, if you don't believe in what it's all about, you shouldn't be celebrating it. Maybe that's a bit harsh. Yeah, I mean, come along with the rest of us, have a big party at Easter time, but you need to know why. You need to know why. And the shops, I think some of the shops now are trying to hijack Easter. Now, of course, you don't have to let them get away with it. No one's forcing anyone to go into shops at Easter, or indeed for that matter Christmas, and buy hundreds of gifts and that for people. Okay, so it's not happening at Easter yet, but you can just see they're starting to push it as a time when you should be buying people presents. Excuse me. But you don't have to let that happen. Don't be conned into doing it. Easter is a time for families like Christmas, and you do not need to be buying each other hundreds of pounds worth of presents to prove that you love or like someone. All right, so I don't know what your opinions on that. Have you thought that recently? You know, around the Easter time, a couple of weeks ago now, of course. Did you think to yourself, hang on a minute, what's all this Easter gift thing? What's all this with Easter gifts? What's going on here? I picked up... It's the first time I've noticed it this year, to be honest. I don't know if it's been happening in years gone by. But you can almost hear those children now, can't you? Mum, can I have an iPod for Easter? Mum, can I have a new bicycle for Easter? And you can see couples talking to it. What would you like for Easter, darling? How about a nice holiday in the Caribbean? No. Don't be pulled into it. The shops and the businesses would love it. I'm just waiting for that now. Oh, what about the businesses? Yeah, what about you? Got enough money? I'm fed up with all these businesses saying how much money that they haven't got. Do me a favour. You're still open, aren't you? Greed, that's what it is, greed. Don't be pulled next year into this Easter thing. Okay? Buy someone an egg. Buy an Easter egg if you want to. And have the hot cross buns on Good Friday. But don't be conned into buying loads of presents, please. All right? Have you noticed that this year? Do let me know. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, we're going back onto this, my little asthma story, aren't we? Yes? So, I'm in the post office, and one thing I noticed, the post office, as I say, that is near me, is at the back of Martin's Newsagent. And I've never understood quite what's going on in there, because do you remember I told you my local supermarket Waitrose had closed down? Right. Well, Waitrose is almost right next to Martin's, the Newsagent. So no longer do we have that supermarket there. And I now have to go right up the road to the local Sainsbury's. Because that's the nearest big supermarket to me. Well, Martin's, obviously, very cleverly and very sensibly, Martin's have taken it upon themselves to start selling goods as well as newspapers, sweets, cards and magazines. That's all they used to sell. And a few stationery items like envelopes, padded envelopes and things like that. I was going to say padded bras then. Or shoulder pads. They've started selling items of food like tins of beans, bread and bits and pieces like that. Oh, and they've now got a very, very nice hot food counter in there. And, oh, here we go. Bless me, Suko, for I have sinned 3 times this week. I've gone into Martin's, the Newsagent, just down the road, and purchased, on 2 occasions, a cheese and onion pasty, which are £1.15 each. And on 1 occasion, a vegetable pasty, because they didn't have any cheese and onion ones left. And they, look, can I tell you, they are to die for. These pasties in there are to die for. And they're not expensive. £1.15 for pasty, that's okay to me. I told you, there is a place in town. And what's that called? I think it's the Sandwich something or other. But their pasties are £2.50. Now, I won't lie to you, they're fairly large, but they're not that large, dear. And there's no way I'm paying over £2 for a pasty. I'll go up to about £1.60 sounds a fair price to me. £1.50 for a cheese and onion pasty. This place in town, they are £2.50. They're about £2.40, £2.50, something like that. I won't buy it. And they're stupid, really. Stupid. Because another baker recently opened 2 doors down and they sell 2 cheese and onion pasties for, I think, £1.40 or £1.30, something like that. So they've shot themselves in the foot there. And I always like to make a point of... And I have to say, since the cheaper baker opened, that one has got much quieter. It's a rip-off. It's an absolute rip-off. It's like some of the sandwiches in petrol stations that I've mentioned before, where you can go in there, like the one I go to Brighton on Fridays to work, and there's a spa shop within a BP garage there. And usually I'll stop in there when I'm nearly there and I'll buy a ham and cheese sandwich and it's about £1.90, which is okay. But some of these places, they're at £4.50 for a sandwich. It ain't on, it's a rip-off. Don't buy it. If enough people stop buying this stuff, the prices would soon come down, dear, and stop these greedy companies making so much. How much money do they want? Anyway, shall we go back to the asthma story? So I have been having, bless me, Suko, for I have sinned. I have had 2 cheese and onion pasties and a vegetable pasty this week. Oh, I love it. Oh, they're lovely. They come out this hot food cabinet in there. But you have to get in by 3 o'clock, otherwise they're all gone. Oh, delicious. But the only thing is, Martin... They had the not the builders, the shop fitters in, putting on new shelves for all these new items that they're selling. Obviously, to pick up on some of the trade that Waitrose used to get. What a clever idea! I mean, someone obviously come along. Hang on, there's a bit of a business to be made here. So they've done all the shelves up, put the tins on, boxes of tea bags. Not everything that you'd find in the supermarket, but just things that are like daily items: milk, a few tins. I think there's soap powder, maybe a few toiletry items and things like that. What a great idea! But stupidly. You knew there was going to be a but then, didn't there? But stupidly, they failed to realise that, yes, good idea, people will come in and buy more things, but they didn't put any more staff on. So what you're in this situation now I mean, it's usual in a newsagent that there's only one person on the till. That's the norm of it. And there's usually someone else running around doing some other task in there. I don't know, sweeping the floor or stacking shelves. But there's this one woman on the till who is lovely. All the staff in there are nice. They're all nice. There's a woman in there. There's a young lad who's actually quite dishy, but I haven't said anything to him. He's a bit young for me, to be honest. Very good looking, probably about 25. I think he seems to be management type. Funny, isn't it? There's the older lady on the till who's very nice. I don't know any of the names. She used to be a lollipop lady for the school. So a lollipop lady, if you're outside the UK, you won't know. A lollipop lady is someone who stands in the middle of the road with a stick and a yellow circle thing, which looks like a lollipop, and she helps children across the road at school times. So she doesn't do that anymore now. She works in Martin's Newsagent. So there's those two. And there's another older woman with long blonde hair who she doesn't seem to say much. Very quiet. That's okay. That's all right. But what happens now is that there's still only one person on the till. And yet the shop is clearly much busier than it ever was since Waitrose closed down. Okay? Now, not too bad of a thing if people are going there buying one loaf of bread or one bag of crisps or asking for some cigarettes which are behind the counter. The trouble occurs when someone decides to fill up a basket full of shopping. And there you are, you're standing in this queue, and I don't think I've been in there recently in the last couple of weeks since they done this. I haven't been in there recently, and there's never been a queue in there. There's always about 4 or 5 people in the queue. And remember, like some of the transactions in newsagents can take quite a long time. If people are in there paying for their newspapers or buying lottery tickets, and this all takes time, and this queue's building up. I don't know what it is, but I don't know if it's the training of the people or anything out like that. But I've seen queues, 10 people in a queue, and still there's only one person on the till, and someone else is stacking shelves. And they must be able to see the queue. I mean, you know me, dear. I can't go over and tell them, could you go on the till, please? It's getting very busy. That's not, I just can't do that, dear. I can't. But can they not see the queue? I bet you've been into a shop as well before, haven't you, where there's a queue a mile long and there's another member of staff stacking shelves. Leave the box along and serve the blooming customers, dear. But obviously the people at the top haven't, that they need another member, at least one other member of staff there. And I actually mentioned this to the miserable git in the post office. I said, this isn't really working out, is it? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, you're selling all this other stuff and the queue's a mile long. He said, this company's always like that, he said to me. He said, they're always trying to cut back. And that's the problem, isn't it? As we said time and time on this point, they're not managers. You're not managers. You're accountants. A manager looks after all aspects of the business. An accountant just sits there moaning about how much everything is costing him. Moaning about how much is this costing me? Moaning about how much everything is costing him, and then saying, oh, we need to make more. We need to always moaning about how much money. That's an accountant. A manager looks after everyone. Looks after the staff. Make sure there's enough people in there serving. So good and bad news about my little newsagents down there. I will still, of course, go in there, but I wish they could sort out the queues. It's ridiculous. If you're going to sell all that stuff, you need more staff. The money's coming in now. Oh, no. How much is that going to cost us? Oh, you can just see it now, can't you? So that's Martin's. Anyway, so I came out there and I eventually got to the till about 5 minutes later, by which time this was the day I bought the vegetable pasty, actually, not the cheese and onion, because by the time I got to the till, of course, they'd run out, dear. There was 10 people in front of me. Poor me. So I had a vegetable pasty that day, and I said to the girl, I said, is it nearly 2 o'clock? She said it was about 22, and I thought, oh, it was not even going to be open yet, is it? The doctor didn't get there till 2 o'clock. So I then came home and I potted about here indoors doing a few bits and pieces, and I jumped back on my bicycle again because I always cycle around town. I never get the car out around here. Jumped back on my bicycle again and went back and got my prescription, which was all ready. Then I handed it into the chemist, which is actually next to the newsagent. And then she said, oh, it'd be about half an hour. And you're thinking, oh, God, half an hour. All they've got to do is give me one of these. Why is that going to take half an hour? I thought to myself. You know, meanwhile, you're standing in the chemist and people sneezing all around you. Oh, what am I going to pick up in here? I mean, I'd be better off walking around in one of those nuclear spacesuits or something like that, wouldn't I? Doesn't Michael Jackson wear something like that? Eh? Does Michael Jackson wear something like that? One of those spacesuits. One of those things that go across your mouth. Sometimes you see cyclists wearing them, aren't they? I could wear one of those, I suppose. Apparently, that those things a cyclist wears, the little white masks over their mouth. You see it a lot, not so much in this country. You see it a lot in, I think, Hong Kong or somewhere like that. I seem to remember seeing lots of people with like Chinese eyes with them on. Is it Hong Kong or somewhere like that? I can't remember now. There is I think it might be Hong Kong actually, Hong Kong, and they've got these masks on. And I remember seeing a program on. And he said the trouble with these masks is they actually aren't that good. Number one, they don't really stop a lot of the stuff coming through. And number two, if you do breathe it in, then it can't get out again because the mask's on your mouth. So I don't know if they're any good or not. I think a lot of people wear these things and they're a bit of a waste of money. Anyway, so I got my asthma thing. So I went in it'd be about half. I thought, oh, dear. I thought, I'll come back tomorrow. Okay, sir. Okay, Mr. Reardon. And off I went. And that was it sorted. So I went back the next day and I've now got my new one, you see. That's it. 200 doses in here. Which actually, I don't suppose that's much really if you've got it bad, have you? But you're not supposed to have it all the time, only when needed. Interestingly, while I was in the doctor, I did pick up, they always have leaflets on everything. I mean, if you picked up a leaflet on everything, you thought, oh my God, it's not worth living anymore, dear. All these terrible things that are going to happen to me. But I picked up an asthma leaflet, which kind of caught my eye, and it says, what to do if your child has asthma, and it gave you all this list of instructions. And one of the things it says, make sure you have 3 or 4 puffs of the Ventolin, even if the child has said that he's had some, because you can't, I didn't know this, you can't really overdose on these apparently, according to that leaflet, which I find interesting. Because I'm sure I read somewhere else that if you do have, you might get the shakes or anything like that. But is that it? So presumably the shakes is hardly something that's making you ill, is it? So I wonder, does that mean you could kind of finish this whole thing off and it wouldn't damage you? Surely it would eventually, wouldn't it? If you just kept having it all the time. So there we are. That's my asthma story. All right. And Martin's newsagent replaces Waitrose. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. In fact, it works. It would work if only they had someone else on the till. So come on, get your finger out. We were hoping today to speak to Gwen on the phone because I did have this story here, but I'm going to hold on to the story. It was about some of the over 55s telling them to behave themselves aboard because they're taking all sorts of risks. And I was going to talk to Gwen about that on the show today, but unfortunately she's moving today. She's moving to Barnet. They're downsizing. Now, who's Gwen? Are you a new listener, are you? Well, Gwen is an elderly lady that I know that comes to my karaoke nights. in the Golden Line in King's Cross, where I'm every Tuesday night, that is. If you're ever here in the UK or ever down in London, do join us Tuesday. Oh, we're going to move the night soon, though. We will be moving the night. At the moment, karaoke is on Tuesday nights at the Golden Lion. That is until the end of this month, and then we are moving it to a Wednesday. Because there's the thing is, everyone, it seems to me, everyone does karaoke on a Tuesday night. Doesn't matter where you are in London, you can find karaoke somewhere on a Tuesday night. And I can't quite work out why that is. Seems to be karaoke on Tuesday, quiz nights on Wednesday. So I said to them, I've got Wednesday off. Why don't we move the night so that we are the only ones with karaoke on a Wednesday? So they kind of said, yeah, that's a really good idea. So we're going to do that, and that'll be from the first week in May, directly after our competition. Because at the moment we're running a competition with a £500 cash prize on Tuesday nights at the Golden Line. But that will be finishing at the end of April with a grand final. All right, so that's the Gwen does come to the karaoke on Tuesdays, soon to be Wednesdays from the first week in. Did I say May? Yeah, that's it, isn't it? May. That's 5. We've had 5 months of this year. 5 months of this year. God. Oh, you know that? Remember that boy I told you about in the Golden Lion? Stuart works behind the bar, the one with all the talent. What a team! Do you know what he said to me this week? He said I was a lard. I can't say the word, it's swearing. ARS, another word for bum. He said I had a lard bum. I said, I beg your pardon. And he could see it upset me. You know, well, I say that. I said, beg your pardon, lard bum? He said, all right then, slightly obese. What a cheek, he said I had a slightly obese bum while I was walking around in there. What a liberty, dear. And I was talking about helping him the other day, weren't I? What do they want, these people? God's sake. Right. Now, we wanted some emails in from... we're going to run out of time, aren't we? Yeah, again. Wanted some emails in about suggestions, although you can't see them behind me today because I've moved the camera around again. Suggestions on things to put on my shelf behind me. Well, when I'm looking over that way, you do see the shelf behind me. Any suggestions on interesting articles, little artifacts, things like that, to put on the shelf behind me, do let me know on the email, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Joe recently wrote in, now I can't remember if I did this one or not. Does your time change daylight saving times? Yes, we've now moved to British summertime. Which happens always around just after the Easter period. And we're now 1 hour. Here in the UK, we are now 1 hour ahead of GMT. Okay? And I think, what is it? Just a minute, let me work this out. April, May, June, July, August, September. And in October, we go back 1 hour to GMT. All right, so we are now on British summertime, or BST here. And BST, British Summertime, is 1 hour ahead of GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. All right, Joe? And the idea is it's supposed to stop accidents. I think it's all a load of rubbish. I really do think that's a load of rubbish. And we should just stick on GMT and be done with it. It's ridiculous, moving all the hours and everything. Of course, I've lost an hour's sleep. Can you see the bags under the eyes? Bags under eyes, dear. More like suitcases. Right, got to say hello to, I'm going to play you a little recording now from Ivona. Hello, Ivona, in Slovakia, who started sending me lots of emails. Thank you for those. Oh, that was it. You wanted me to sing your song, didn't you? And I've forgotten. Oh, dear. Well, Ivona, I'm going to have to sing it on the next song. All right? But I've got a few emails from a young lady here. She was telling me the other day to eat vegetables from a special vegetable or fruit from China called goji. And I wasn't sure what it was. And she says, "Hi, Chrissy, I'm very happy to answer. Excuse me, goji is from the Himalayas. And don't worry, it's a really fantastic thing. Very healthy and very palatable. Non-toxic. Believe me, I want for you only the best. Thank you, Ivona. I love you too. And what was it? Let me see. I don't need luxury things, only happy things, she says. And she also sent in her version of her trying to sing Bewitched. Do you remember we had that a couple of weeks ago? We were trying to sing the words to Bewitched, only I wasn't very good at that. And here is Ivona, who sent me in a little MP3, and you can do the same if you want to, of her singing Bewitched. Here we go, gang. Listen to this now. All right, here she comes, coming up now, I hope.
Bewitched, bewitched, bewitched. That song is very, very, very pretty. Yes, very, very, very sympathetic song. Yes, bewitched, 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 bewitched. Oh yes, sir, now. Yes, I remember, Chrissy, the first song from you, and you're singing, and that's Mauritania, and that's all amazing. Yes, it's fantastic. Mauritania, Britannia, all the ways. Never, 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 never shall be slave. That's my version, Mauritania, especially for you, baby, because you are the great singer.
Oh,
yes,
you go on like that. Thank you, Ivona. And she sent us in that little MP3 a week or so ago. So thanks for that. You can always send in your MP3s. Oh, it's great, your little singing voice there, my darling. Thank you very much. If you want to send in your MP3s, usually your mail address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Time for me to go. As always, thank you very, very much for joining me. And thank you for sending in the emails and other bits and pieces. A bit quiet on the emails this week. Keep them coming. All right, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. I'll see you on the next show. Bye-bye now.